House of Representatives announces postponement of resumption date. Nigerian Labour Congress gives federal government 7-day ultimatum over fuel scarcity. Inspector General of Police orders state commissioners of police to conclude all election-related investigations. On business, Nigeria Communication Commission harmonizes telecom subscription code across all networks. And on the international scene, public sector workers protest demanding wage increase in South Africa. And on sports, ex-Svtv coach Samaila Mabo dies at 79. Hello, welcome to Standard Voice Television News Channel. I'm Fawzi Ibrahim. The National Assembly has announced that it will not be resuming on the 14th March as earlier scheduled. In a statement signed by the Clerk of the House of Representatives, Dr. Yahya Danzaria, the postponement is to enable members partake in the governorship and State House of Assembly election, which was rescheduled to Saturday, the 18th of March 2023. The leadership of the All Progressives Congress has met with senators-elect and members of the House of Representatives-elect at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa, Abuja. The Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, APC National Chairman Abdullahi Adamu, APC National Secretary Yola Omisori, and other members of the National Working Committee were among those in attendance. According to the Speaker House of Representatives Remi Bejabemila, the inaugural parley at the behest of the President-elect Bola Tinubu was convened to exchange handshake over the recently concluded elections and charge members to remain focused ahead of the upcoming governorship election on March 18th. Speaking to a correspondent after the closed-door meeting, the Speaker underscored that the meeting was not hindered on the issue of zoning or presiding officers, but on the party's victory at the polls. The Nigerian Labour Congress has given the federal government a 7-day ultimatum to address recurrent currency crunch and fuel scarcity in part of the country, or risk the nationwide industrial action at the expiration of the ultimatum. President of the Union, Mr. Joe Ajaero, gave the strike notice after the meeting of the Central Working Committee of the Congress. Mr. Ajaero, who bemoaned the hardship faced by Nigerian workers owing to the narrow redesign policy of the federal government and the lingering fuel scarcity in parts of the country, said the union has been pushed to the wall. The Federal Fire Service has announced that it would inaugurate fire stations within the market across the country. The zonal controller in charge of Kano and Jigawa, Assistant Controller General Ahmed Garba Araye, disclosed this on a visit to Singa Market to assess the level of damage caused by fire in Kano, saying the service was committed to prevent and control fire. Mr. Ahmed said investigations, inspectorate and enforcement will inspect to ensure fire safety compliance in public buildings, and that shop should be well ventilated as congestion would also escalate heat and cause fire. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has directed commissioners of police in charge of State Command to swiftly conclude all election-related investigations. Our correspondent, Zainab Abdul Wasiu, has more.
The Force Public Relations Officer Olumiyiwa Adejobi, in a statement, further directed the police commissioners to forward their case file to the Independent National Electoral Commission for prosecution. According to Mr. Adejobi, the investigations encompass all cases of violations against the 2023 Electoral Act during the February 25th Presidential and National Assembly election process. He said the directive was to ensure an inch-free security architecture for all and sundry, particularly the electorate, accredited observers, INEC officials and materials, so that all citizens can exercise their franchise without molestation, harassment or security threat. Zainab Abdosi, you're reporting for Standard Voice Television.
Nigerians applying for passport will be charged 1,000 naira in Nigeria for the verification of national identification number. The National Identity Management Commission discloses in a statement signed by its head corporate communication Kayode Adegbuke According to the Commission, the fee is to improve the quality of service, accuracy and speed of passport service through timely verification of NIN. It stated that it agreed on the framework with the Nigerian Immigration Service, which is in furtherance of the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy's directive to streamline passport application, renewal and issuance processes. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria has announced that runway 18 right and 36 left of the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos will be shut for 8 weeks down for maintenance. The runway 18 right and 36 left is specifically dedicated for international flights. FAN in a statement confirmed that taxiway B18 left will be used instead of all flight operations until maintenance was completed. Jigawa State and Local Government Contributory Pension Scheme says it has completed the payment of terminal benefit worth over 1.7 billion naira to 707 beneficiaries. This was disclosed by the Executive Secretary of the scheme, Alhaji Kamilu Aliyu Musa. Alhaji Kamilu explained that over 1.4 billion naira was paid as gratuity to 568 state, local and local education authority staffs. He said 223 million was paid as death benefit to families of 81 civil servants. The Executive Secretary further explained that the scheme also paid over 31 million to 18 families of pensioners as well as death pension balance. 7 states have been identified as potential hotspot of violence ahead of Saturday's rescheduled governorship and state assembly elections. Fear have evolved resident following the pre-election violence occasioned by clashes between supporters and the major political parties in 7 states. Residents in the state said they are gripped by fear given the wave of clashes between supporters and the main contenders and political parties, especially in the build-up and aftermath of the February 25th presidential and National Assembly polls. The state include Kaduna, Zamfara, Lagos, Kano, Gombe, Rivers and Bauchi State as calls are being made by stakeholders to the security agencies to strengthen the security apparatus in the state ahead of the elections. And on business, the Nigerian Communication Commission has directed mobile network operators to commence implementation of approved harmonized shortcode for providing certain service to telecom customers in Nigeria, in line with its customer-centric approach to telecom regulations. This was disclosed by Director of Public Affairs Raubin Mauka, saying the NCC has directed the MNOs to implement harmonization effectively. According to him, the Commission has already set a deadline of May 17, 2023 for all mobile networks to fully migrate from hitherto diverse short code to the harmonized code. The director explained that the use of harmonized short code is aimed at achieving uniformity in common short code across networks, which means that the code for checking airtime balance is the same across all mobile networks for the same function, irrespective of the network a customer uses. And on the international scene,
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
South Africa's largest public sector workers' union continued to protest outside various hospitals across the country on Monday. The protest, including union members in health and education, has run into its 2nd week, with heavy law enforcement on display to monitor the rallies. The National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union is demanding a 10% wage increase, while the government has offered 4.7%. Protesters have vowed to intensify their action until their demands are met. According to military, medical personnel were deployed to several public hospitals to mitigate the consequences of a strike that the government said has caused several deaths. And in sports, Former head coach of Super Falcons Nigeria women's senior national team, Ismaila Mabo, has died at the age of 79 in the early hours of Monday. According to family sources, the former national player and captain of Mighty Jets Football Club of Jos died after a protracted illness at his residence in Jos, Plateau State. Funeral activities have commenced with prayers at the family house in Jos and the burial at the Zaria Road burial ground, according to Muslim rites. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has extended condolences to the family of the deceased. Similarly, NFF President Ibrahim Gusau has also mourned the fallen coach, describing him as a great man and an accomplished trainer for trainees in the national football fraternity. Real Madrid have reportedly now made first contact with Jude Bellingham, with the reigning European and Spanish champions determined to win the race for the midfielder's signature this summer. Real Madrid has now made first contact with the teenagers and his camp as Carlo Ancelotti's team look to beat Liverpool to a deal for one of the most highly rated young stars in world football. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, here's a recap of the major headlines. House of Representatives announces postponement of resumption date. Nigerian Labour Congress gives federal government 7-day ultimatum over fuel scarcity. Inspector General of Police orders state commissioners of police to conclude all election-related investigations. On business, Nigerian Communication Commission harmonizes telecom subscription code across all networks. And on the international scene, public sector workers protest demanding wage increase in South Africa. And in sports, ex-Super Falcon coach Ismaila Mabo dies at 79. That's the news. Thank you for joining us, and for Ibrahim, do have a nice day.